Daf Yomi Tractate Sanhedrin, page 77. A, top of the page. It's interesting that we have a lot of very large dafs lately, for a while, and now daf Ayin Zayin is a relatively short daf. It's pretty small. In general, it's small, but it's really small in comparison to all the other ones. And what it reminds me of, if you remember, Bava Kama Daf Ayin Zayin, it's probably one of the smallest Amudim in all of Shas. It's only like 9 words. It's that huge Tosfos there that takes up pretty much most of the page. And it's interesting that it's both Ayin Zayin, 77. And so I don't remember that with Bava Basra or with Bava Metzia, but maybe I don't know. But I remember I'm seeing it here. But anyway, starting from the top of the page, with Nezakin she'asa bahen shogeg kemezid ve'ones keratzon. Eno din shechayev bahen et hamitzamtzem. With regard to damage where the Torah rendered the legal status of one who caused damage unwittingly, like that of one who causes damage intentionally, and the status of the one who causes damage due to circumstances beyond his control, like that of one who causes damage with intent, as one is always responsible for damage that he caused. See Bava Kama 26a. Is it not logical that the Torah rendered one who confines an animal in a place where it cannot survive liable to pay restitution even though he did not perform an action? If Acha bar Rav Poter. Amrav Visharshia. My time in Davua de Abba Poter. Amar Kra. Moishu mos hamake rotzechu. Berotzechu. Techayev lo mitzamtzem. Bezakid lo chayev lo mitzamtzem. The Gemara explains the conflicting opinion. Rav Acha bar Rav exempts the one who confined the animal in the sun from recompensing the owner. Rav Misharshia said, "What is the reason for the opinion of Rav Acha, the father of my father, who exempts him from payment? The reason is that the verse states, or in enmity, he struck him with his hand and he died. The assailant shall be put to death. He is a murderer." Numbers 35:21. The phrase "he is a murderer" restricts the liability of one who confines another. It is in the case of a murder that the Torah renders for us one who confines another liable to be executed. But in the case of damage, the Torah does not render for us one who confines the animal of another liable to recompense the owner, as it was not his action that caused the damage. Amarava kapase umes bera'av pater. V'amarava kapase chama v'mes v'tzina v'mes chayav. Sov chama lavo sov tzina lavo pater. Rava says if one bound another and he died of starvation, he is exempt from liability to receive a court-imposed death penalty, as it was not his action that caused the death of the victim. Even if the victim was hungry when he was bound, the starvation that caused his death ensued at a later stage. The one who bound him is liable to be punished by the heavenly court. And Rava says if one bound another in the sun and he died of the heat, or in a cold place and he died of exposure, he is liable to be executed, as from the moment he bound him, the victim began dying. But if one bound another in a place that at the time was not exposed to the sun or the cold, even though ultimately the sun would arrive at that place, or ultimately the cold would reach that place, he is exempt from execution, as when he bound the victim, the future cause of death was not present. Amar Rava Kafasa Lifnei Ari Potter Lifnei Yitushin Chayiv Ravashi Amar Afilu Lifnei Yitushin Nami Potter Hani Azli V'Hani Asu. Rava says if one bound another before a lion, he is exempt from execution, since perhaps the lion will choose not to prey on the victim. It was not his action that caused the damage. If he bound another before mosquitoes, he is liable to be executed, as inevitably the mosquitoes will bite him until he dies. That does not make sense. No one dies from mosquito bites. That's strange. It's very bizarre. Rashi says even if he bound an individual before mosquitoes, he is exempt from execution, as the mosquitoes who were there when he bound the individual are not the ones who killed him. Rather, those mosquitoes went, and these other mosquitoes came. Therefore, this case is comparable to the case where one bound another in a place where the sun or the cold would ultimately arrive. Itmar Kafa Alav Gigis Upalav Be'ezivo Rava Rebzera Chalav Machayev Chalav Pater. It was stated that there's an Amoraic dispute with regard to one who overturned a vat upon another and he died of suffocation, or breached plaster covering the roof and the lack of sealant caused others to die of exposure. Reverend Rizera disagree. One says he is liable to be executed, and one says he is exempt from execution. Ishtayem de'aveh hu d'amar pater d'amar rava kafasli ameis b'rav pater. The Gemara suggests conclude that Rava is the one who says that the perpetrator is exempt from execution, as Rava says, if one bound another and he died of starvation, he is exempt from execution, as it was not his action that caused the death of the victim. Adarab, this time the Rebzera who Dama Potter Dama Rebzera Haiman de Aliyah Chavera Bevesa the Shaisha Bialik Be Lishraga Beves Chayev Tama Dalik Lishraga Od Lo Adik Lishraga Lo. The Gemara rejects that suggestion. On the contrary, conclude that it is Rabbi Zera who says that the perpetrator is exempt, as Rabbi Zera says, with regard to this individual who took another into a hermetically sealed house of marble, and he kindled a lamp for him, and he died of the fumes. The perpetrator is liable to be executed. One may infer that the reason he is liable is because he kindled a lamp for him. But if he did not kindle a lamp for him, no, he's not liable. Although the victim would have ultimately died even without the lamp, apparently Rabbi Zera also maintains that the perpetrator is liable only if the perpetrator's action caused the death, or at least caused the process of dying to begin. This case is identical to the case of the overturned vat. Amri Hasam Velo Shaga Lo Maschil Havlo. The sages say in the case where one confesses, one confines another in a house of marble without a kindled lamp, the atmosphere does not begin to cause suffocation at the time of the perpetrator's action, as the room is sufficiently large to enable the individual to breathe We might as well keep it. We're on top of 77b now. Bishate Hakabolo Shraga. Now you skill Havo Shate. Here, in the case where one overturns a vat upon another, even without a kindled lamp, the atmosphere begins to cause suffocation at the time of the perpetrator's actions. Therefore, the two cases are not comparable, and it is Rabbi who exempts the one who overturned a vat upon another.